Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allahayim Nawa, Yahweh, Akkad.
Ow.
So you think Santa will like these red and green M&Ms?
I don't know. I never met the guy. He does exist.
They do exist.
Santa?
How can you believe in whom you do not know or refuse to accept? Romans 10 and 14 asks the question, how can they call on him whom they don't believe? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And even more, how shall they hear without a preacher? Hebrews 11 and 6 says, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Allah must believe that he is Allah, and that he, Allah, is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. He exists as Allah for sure, but for far too many of you don't even know him by his set-apart name, Allah. You have been taught to despise and hate and shun this name, this mighty Qadash name, but yet you proclaim he exists with no problem. Well, what happens when someone intelligent asks, he who exists? What do you say then? So how do you fix your mouth to proclaim he exists when you are ashamed, a despiser, or a denouncer of this Qadash name? Boggles my mind, but I as well needed a wake-up call before I got to this point. So I can't criticize. The placement of the negative la'ah before positive affirmation statements changes those positives to the negative. Here's what's happening in chapter 4, verse 1 of Shemuth, or Exodus. Mashah has explained to the Most High that he's going to go to the sons of Yasharallah and tell them that the Most High has appeared to him and that he exists. But the sons of Yasharallah will respond with faithlessness. And instead of being full of faith in agreement with him, they will not believe him nor listen to his voice. In a special way, Mashah is asking the Most High, what should I do then? And he exists, answers him straight away. This la'ah right here precedes this positive statement, they will believe me, and or listen to my voice. But since la'ah precedes that, you get this negative statement right here. They will not believe me nor listen to my voice. This la'ah right here is in response to Mashah telling the sons that the Most High has appeared to him. And they will say la'ah, changing that statement. And say he has not appeared to you. And when it comes to he exists, they will say he exists not. You see that? Many of you already know my style of presentation and scriptural breakdown in that I provide modernized dramatizations of these scriptures because that's how Yahweh Elohim presents them to me. So I do my best to package these dramatizations in association with pictographic slideshow presentations and productions of edification to enhance the learning experience of listening and viewing audiences who have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart of flesh to believe the truth when it's introduced to them. Often the production presentations may appear to be too carnal in nature to some, but the reality is our Abarym records illustrates and documents everyday carnal lifestyles and average everyday people drama routines. However, the occasional intriguing mind benders occur every so often, which turns the normal into otherworldly with spiritual encounters of the other kind. Yet, the same old topics of murder, sex, drugs, overbearing government, and strict, stiff-necked religions are the norm in our records. With that being said, there's no requirement to believe me. All I am offering is the truth with modernized conceptualizations. So, if you don't like what you hear, then you can take the blue pill and go back to sleep. Believe whatever you like. But, on the other hand, if you're a curious-minded person and like a little intrigue in your life, then take the red pill, stay in Wonderland, and I'll show you how deep the rabbit hole of truth goes. Ready? Here we go. Let's talk portions of so-called Exodus in the heathen understanding. U Allah Shamut. And these are the names in Abarym, chapter 3 and 4, to conclude. So this story picks up in the book of names, Shamut 3 and 1, with Masha, who having had a bounty placed on his head, has fled out of Mitzrayim for the murder of an Egyptian slave driver, supervisor, or boss, most likely. He has married a wife, and they have children. Masha is working for his father-in-law, Iataru, as a sheep herder. Masha unknowingly has wandered and led the flock to the backside of the Madabar, what's the word in Abarym, whatchamacallit in English, a wilderness of forgetfulness, or a desert for lack of words, place, and has wound up at the foot of the mountain of Alahayim, even the mount of wasting called Haraba, and even Sinai, in other words. Anyways, he sees a strange sight in the distance, something that would run the average person in the opposite direction. Excuse me. A bush which appears to be burning, lit up like a Christmas tree, flashing lights in color of the rainbow, but it is not being consumed. Poor Masha. He has taken the bait and is being reeled in, as he has turned aside and gone in for a closer look. Now let me pause here for a brief moment. Let me ask y'all something. You see strange lights like these in a distant place. Would you go in to get a closer look, or turn and head the opposite direction? I am a coward like that, and I am not that curious. I am headed in the opposite direction, and fast. It's still an unknown, and the truth is we as a people in this pagan society have been programmed to fear the unknown. That's the honest truth. The Most High exists as Allah. He is putting in a high-tech phone call to his people, Yasharallah. And Masha is taking a call, and will soon be screening this call on behalf of his people, Yasharallah. Let me sidebar this thought with a personal short reference, if I may. When I was growing up as a child, we didn't have caller ID, so the parents learned to use their children as telephone call screeners. We were the caller ID. Sometimes it worked great, other times it didn't work out so well. But for the most part, it was fairly reliable. We would answer the phone, with that satanic greeting, hello. And if we recognized the voice of a relative, they might or might not get through. But if a bill collector was calling, he or she got to run around for sure. They would call and be like, hi, may I speak with Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so? And we would be all intelligent, sophisticated, like, who shall I say is calling, please? And they would have to disclose, I am Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so with hers Miss Furniture Store or so-and-so. And they would get the runaround. They'll say, hold on, let me go check and see if there's in. And come back with they're not here, they've gone to the store or whatever. That phone call was not getting through. It was blocked. Then they started harassing and just ringing the phone off the hook. So the parents bought a whistle and tied it to the telephone line. And it's a good thing they had not invented those super loud air horns at that time. There will be some serious busted eardrums to this day. That whistle worked pretty doggone good itself. Anyways, back to Shamut. Let's deal with verse 2 for a minute here. Who or what is this messenger, Malak, or angel Yahweh, which has appeared to Masha from the midst of a burning bush? Remember in Iyakazako 1:28, Iyakazako saw the glory of the Most High, flashing lights in color of the rainbow. Well, Masha is seeing the same thing from the midst of a nearby desert oasis brush at the foot of Al-Hayim's mountain. My interpretation is that Masha is seeing a holographic image of Yahweh Alahi himself, which is live and interactive with him in speech and gesture. In verse 4, when he exists, saw that Masha had turned aside to get a closer look, he allows Masha to come so close. Then he calls out to him by name, exclaiming, Masha, Masha. He who answering said, Here am I. And he told him, Do not come any closer. And is told to remove the shoes from off his feet. Verse 5. Because the ground whereupon he stood was Quadash, consecrated, set apart ground. Now, let me expound and interject here. The ground whereon Masha was standing was electrified, and the surrounding area and space was filled with electrostatic magnetism and high voltage electrical fields. The closer Masha got, the stronger the charge and voltage, which was generating the avatar he exists, or the messenger, or holographic image. By removing the shoes from off his feet, Masha was making full contact with the earth, which is a natural neutral ground. That's why we say we are standing on the ground. He was in danger of being electrocuted to death from the power that was generating the holographic 3D avatar or messenger. Now, this image you see on your screen is my malak, my messenger, and our avatar, the angel Abarym, that I have sent out over the internet to inform fellow Abarym Yasharalayim, who have ears to hear, eyes to see, and a heart of flesh to believe. Now that Masha is made safe, he exists in verse 6. Verse 6 formally introduces himself to Masha. Anybody ever dealt with Yahoo Messenger, Skype, or video calls? The Most High Allah said to Masha, I am, using the word Anaki, not Ahaya. Allahi of your fathers. Allahi of Abraham, Allahi of Yatazahak, and the Allahi of Ya'ikap. Well, upon hearing this news, Masha hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Allahim. As it is written, no one can look upon the face of the Most High and live. Genesis or Barashiath 32 and 30. Also in Exodus 33 and 20. Note that the root word of Allahim is used 5 times in this verse. You will see it 5 times again in other verses. Extremely important information that should not be tap danced around. In verse 7, he explains to Masha that he has seen the afflictions of his people Yashar Allah with his own eyes, and have heard their cries because of their Nagashaya oppressors with his own ears. In verse 8, he tells Masha he has come down to deliver his people and fulfill the promise he made to their fathers to give them fertile, rich, large lands that are currently invaded and occupied by Hamites. In verse 9, he reiterates verse 7, but throws in a twist at verse 10 and tells Masha, I am sending you to power to deliver Yasharala out of Matzrayim. In verse 11, Masha shows that he is full with that news. He's probably wondered, how in the heck can I deliver Yasharala all by myself? And he's probably also remembering he had a bounty on his head as well. So that's a dangerous prospect he would have to undertake in returning to the land of Matzrayim. Masha is naturally feeling overwhelmed and losing it a little bit. So in verse 12, the Most High Allah reassures Masha, saying, certainly I will be with you. You won't be alone. And offer this shall be a token unto you that I have sent you. Masha is offered the chief executive position under Elohim himself as a reward and a token or a sign for all to see throughout many generations after they have arrived at Sinai, saying, when you have brought forth the children out of Mitzrayim, you shall serve Elohim, me, upon this mountain. Masha knows how to write and to draw pictographs. So guess what he'll be doing for the Most High Allah? That's right. He will be writing the 5 books of Torah and the book of Jubilees and maybe others. 13. Masha says to the Most High, look, I'm going to go to the children of Yashar Allah and say to them that the Allahi of your fathers have sent me unto you. They are going to ask me, what is his name? And what is he presenting to us? In other words, what's his name and business with us? What shall I say back to them? In 14, Abarym responds, making the sounds. Ayah, Ashar, Ayah. And those sounds convey the meaning, the mighty one, he exists, exclaiming, that's what. Then repeating, the mighty one, he exists, and said, this is what you shall say to the children of Yasharallah. The mighty one, he exists, and has sent me unto you. The word Ashar is responding directly to the question of, what shall I say to them? Ashar, in that case, means that's what. And is exclaimed by Allah in response. Now Mashai is not allowed to produce the same sound Ayah, because Ayah implies I am, the mighty one, he exists, to the hearer of that speech, implication only. The word that means I am in the Abarym language is Ani. So Mashah instead has to use the names which carry the same meaning as the sounds I and Yah. The name that means the mighty one or the most high in the Abarym language is Allah, or Al for short. Yahweh is the full version name of the sound Iyah. The first letter of the Abarym alphabet, and also the first number 1. And it is represented pictographically by the bull's head or the ox head, who is the leader of the herd or the flock, the mighty one, the one of power, the strong leader. And again, Yahweh replaces the sound Iyah. Now, in verse 15, he exists begins prepping Mashah for going before the people with a stage performance, which he will enact before all the people of Yasharallah. And so rehearsals go on, and Mashah with his lines. Mashah will have to go before the people and put on this show and tell and be convincing. Picture this, all the elders and the people will be gathered in a town hall square in some wilderness amphitheater nearby the Goshen ghettos and projects. Perhaps they'll meet at the obelisk of thought. Yahweh Shai Ben Nun will blow the shofar horn, sounding the alert. Then Mashah will begin with a shout of an attention-grabbing address such as, "Hear, O Yasharallah," then pause for a long period of time to allow echo shouters to deliver the word of mouth back to the furthest reaches of the people from the sound of Mashah's voice. After a few minutes have passed by, allowing echo shouters time to echo the words back to the furthest point in the crowd, a flag bearer located at the furthest point of the crowds from Mashah's position will lift his flag and wave it, signaling that the word has come to that point. Mashah would then shout, "He exists," in the Abarym tongue, Yahweh, and allow more time for that word to travel back by echo shouters, and also allow people to murmur and complain and ask, "Who is this he exists? He who? Who is Mashah talking about? What is he saying?" etc. You know how people are. After a few minutes of allowing the word to trickle back to the furthest crowd members, the flag bearer will once again lift his flag and wave his flag, indicating that the word has been reached to the back crowds. He then will quiet them once again and then yell, saying loudly, "Elohi of your fathers." Long pause. Elohi of Abraham. Long pause between. Elohi of Yatazahak. Long pause. Elohi of Yaakov. Long pause. And continue. And all with all that was rehearsed in his hearing. Then he exists, tells Mashah this, "Elohi, which you will shout 4 times, is my name and my claim to fame. For I share my glory with no others." Reference Yeshaya 42:8. Again, he is saying, "This is my Shem, my name forever. This Elohi, which will be shouted, is how I am to be remembered or memorialized throughout all generations. Not Yahweh, which is a descriptive compound adjective used for faith restoration. But Allahi is the name he will make feared again, and will work to gain honor for again, as in before times. This Allahi is the name everyone will know and fear and reverence once again. Make Allahi great again, you dig? Yahweh is that part of speech, a compound adjective of a noun followed by a pronoun followed by the verb to exist, that modifies or qualifies imperfectly the name Allahi to convey the single thought that Allahi is alive and well, and Allahi, is that he who exists. Besides, everyone knows Yahweh is only given to the Abarym to help their faith and unbelief in that he exists. He doesn't care about the faith of heathens. They will believe also, but through fear, after he has bled them to the point of blood flowing to the horse's bridle. They, the children of Yasharallah, have not had the face-to-face experience their fathers have had, where he just shows up out of nowhere and wrestles all night long till the break of day, or just shows up and start introducing himself saying, Ani, not Ahaya. Ani, I am Al-Shadia, or Al-Shadia. Their faith, the faith of the children of Yasharal, is like ours. The people is today. They had been shaken, being constantly ridiculed and scorned by Egyptians of that day, and told their fathers had lied to them, with so many counterinsurgents infiltrating and injecting different doctrines and debates about which name pronounces he exists the best, which distracts away from the name Elohim seeks to promote and make great again, being told by those Egyptians that the books they were reading were fables or plagiarisms of Egyptian fables, and that the true power were those of the Egyptian pantheons of powers such as Isis, Ra, Horus, Thoth, Wajet, and others, or being told that they had stolen the El of Canaan, and the Amorites, and the Jebusites, and the Hittites, and etc. Being constantly bombarded with unbelief, they lost hope, faith, and many stopped believing altogether that he ever existed at all. Faith had to be restored, and faith cometh by hearing, and by the word, who is Yahweh Allahi. Reference Romans chapter 10, verse 17. Now in verse 16. Finally, with all rehearsal preps being complete, my Shai is ready. With lights, camera, action time. Time for my Shai to put through the phone call of Al-Hayy in a stage play to his people, which has been rehearsed much in his understanding by the Most High Allahi himself. A time is scheduled and a meeting place set. So the Most High Elohim tells Mashah, go gather the elders, the Zyquan of Yasharallah. But Mashah gets last minute cold feet and ticks off the Most High Elohim with doubts and fears. And boom, like a ton of bricks, stage fright hits and overwhelms him. He starts talking this, what if this and what if that in chapter 4. But we're going to continue on in chapter 3 in verse 17. The Most High is still giving the remaining line, saying, I have said I will bring you out of affliction into a land that is occupied by Hamites, rebels, essentially. Now in verse 18, Allahi assures Mashah that the people will listen to him. Now he exists, as Allahi tells Mashah, he is also sending the Zyquan, the elders, and Mashah to Para'ah, the Malak, or king of Matzrayim, to tell him, Elohim, the almighty power that be, of the Abarym, he exists, and have met with them, and to let them go 7 days leave of absence, and on a 3-day journey into the, Madabar, wilderness, so they can make sacrifice to their Elohim, because he exists, is essentially what they are saying. In 19, Yah tells them, Pharaoh will not listen to them and will not let them go, not even by a mighty hand against him. Verse 20, he exists, as Ali says, he's going to stretch forth his hands and slap the hell out of them Egyptians with many signs and wonders. And after that, then they are going to let you go. In 21, he tells them, he's going to make them Egyptians jealous by discriminating against them and showing favoritism to Yasharallah in their sights. And when they leave, they won't leave broke. 22, he exists, instructs that every woman and teenage female and maids in the house of an Abarym will go to the Egyptian stores and warehouses and run up credit charges on gold and silver from Imhotep's and Ramesses jewelers, and borrowing gold and silver earrings from nearby Egyptian neighbors, and even high-value clothes, silk, cottons, from Stevens, Macy's, Sears and Roebuck, Steps and Styles, etc., and instructs them to spoil these Egyptians through maxed-out credit loans, which they will never pay back, so to speak. Our women know how to shop on credit if our men don't. Our women know how to shop. Okay. In chapter 4, verse 1, Mashah tells Yahweh that he will go and tell the people Elohim has seen him, has appeared to him, and he exists, but they won't listen to him or believe him. And again, this text has been badly translated in the King James Version as Elohim, as the Abarym word la'ah, which proceeds before positive affirmations and changes those statements from positive to negative statements. So they will say, he, Allah, he has not appeared to you. And they will say, he exists not, proving they don't believe Elohim anymore. However, Yahweh Elohim will remedy this doubt and unbelief, and gave Mashah 3 signs of wonders to work before the people. The shepherd's staff Mashah has gotten used to carrying around in his hand will transform into a huge snake when thrown upon the ground. Transformers, robots in disguise type of thing. Since these Egyptians worship the king Cobra Wajet as a mighty power, later in the program this would destroy their belief in that snake power. Mashah hightailed it out of there when he first experienced it. Verse 4, so when Yahweh was finally able to get Mashah back, he told him to pick up the snake by its tail, and when he did so, it turned back into a shepherd's staff in his hand. Mashah probably asked Yahweh if he was trying to give him a heart attack or something, because in verse 5, Yahweh explains, this was done that they, the children of Yasharallah, may believe that he exists. He who, the Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Yatzahak, and the Elohim of Iaikah, and has appeared to Mashah. In verse 6, Yahweh tells him to put his hand into his bosom, and when he did and took it out, it had turned leprous as white as snow, just like those blonde-haired, blue-eyed, green-eyed, hazel-eyed Canaanite people living in the land of Shem. Verse 7, and when he put his arm back in and took it out again, it had turned back to his other flesh, which remained dark and well melanated. In verse 8, he says, if they won't believe the proof of the first sign of the staff transformed into a snake, then they will believe the proof of the second sign of the dark complexion skin transformed into a leprous pale skin. He says in verse 9, and if they don't believe the first 2 signs, then take water from the river and pour it upon the ground, and it shall be blood on the dry ground. It shall turn into blood upon the dry ground. In 10, Mashah complained to Yahweh, said, oh my Adonai, I am not eloquent in speech, and I am slow in speech and tongue, seemingly looking to get out of delivering the message altogether. Also, he may have been having trouble remembering his lines, feeling overwhelmed. 11, but Yahweh didn't let him off the hook. He asked angrily, who has made the deaf and the dumb? or given sight, or made the blind, if not I myself, Yahweh. Then he commands Mashiach, go, as he did in chapter 3, verse 16 and 18, saying, I will be with your mouth and teach you what to say. In verse 12. In 13, Mashiach turns and complains again. Oh, my Adonai, let me write a letter and send it by postage and mail courier to Parah. It's becoming clear to me now that Mashiach is fearing for his life, having to go back to Mitzrayim before Pharaoh himself. Yahweh knows he is afraid and tells him in verse 19 that the bounty hunters that sought his life are all now dead. But in verse 14, that thing about sending a handwritten letter by courier had ticked off the Most High to the max. So he angrily said to Mashiach, isn't the Aaron the Levite your Aki? I know he can speak well. Here he comes now with a big old smile across his face. 15. You teach him what I teach you, and I will be with you and with him and teach you both what to say and do. 16. He will be your spokesman as I have tried to make you mine. He will be your mouth as I have tried to make you my mouth before Pharaoh and the people and all the people. You will be a mighty one to him instead of or in place of me. 17. He says, now go and take the rod and staff which comforts you and place and perform the signs before the people and Pharaoh. Psalms 22. Thy rod and that staff, they comfort me. Mashiach returns to Yatru, his father-in-law, and requests a 30-day leave of absence from work to go check on his Aki in Mitzrayim, and it is granted. 19. Yahweh, remembering Mashiach's fear, tells him while he is yet in Madayan, that the bounty hunters and all that sought his life are all now dead. So the coast is clear to travel back to Mitzrayim. 20. So Mashiach saddles the mules and takes his family back to Mitzrayim, and he took the rod and staff of Elohim for comfort and signs and wonders. 21. Yahweh reiterates to Mashiach, be sure to do all the signs I have placed in your hands to do them before Pharaoh. I am going to make him stubborn, that he will not let the people go. 22. He exists as, tell Pharaoh, Yasher Ali is my firstborn son, and if he doesn't let my son go to serve me, I will kill his firstborn child. In 23. Now in verse 24, a strange and out of place turn of events is documented. Christianity had me all messed up thinking the Most High was laying in wait in some heavenly place somewhere for the opportunity to catch Mashiach and surprise and kill him with a plague or something. But reading for myself, he is caught up to Mashiach in a comfort inn hotel type of setup and has him physically jacked up in a wrestling sleeper hold about to rock-a-bye baby his butt. For real. But in 25, his wife, Tazapara, saves him by doing what he has forgotten to do, which is to fulfill the Abrahamic covenant of circumcising every male child as a sign of the covenant made between Abarym and Yahweh Elohim. Yahweh was already ticked off with him anyways about that send a letter thing. So when his wife threw the bloody foreskin on the floor at their feet, 26, Yahweh let him go. And that's the statement right there in 26 was key for me. I was like, what you mean, let him go? You mean to tell me Yahweh had Mashiach in hand, literally, and was about to snap his neck? What? So, 27. Yahweh meets Aharon face to face in physical form and sent him to meet Mashiach in the Madabar. What's the word? The whatchamacallit in today's tongue. The wilderness of forgetfulness, the desert of lack of words, at the mountain of Elohim, who is the Word. That right there is a strong message. You have to go through the wilderness of forgetting the Most High exists and the desert of lacking of hearing the word of the Most High in places before you can finally get to the word as intended to be received. Wow, that's pretty deep. So my shot catches Aharon up on all that they are to say and perform. Then they gathered the Zyquan, the elders, together, and they delivered the message of Elohim to the people. And when the children of Yasharallah heard that he exists, and had visited them, and had seen their affliction, and had come down to deliver them, they believed, and bowed their heads, probably with tears of relief from the emotional stress and torments and psychological warfare which those Egyptians had inflicted upon them for over 200 years. In Matzorahim, they bowed their heads and they worshiped the Almighty One. He exists, their power, their strength, their mighty one, whom has finally come down to deliver them. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.